I always say that to the kids in class, we can look outside, we all see the same thing, but we all look at it completely differently because we all feel it differently, we all smell it differently, we all sense it differently. And I think it's just taking pieces of the world and putting it into your own practice. And it's a journey like you mentioned. That's why I finished with future plans. I don't want people to see this as the end point. We don't stop until we die. And if people can see the trajectory of people's lives, they can realize this is not the end. It's only keep going forward. We all have steps, we all have goals, we all have milestones. And I think leading our own way is a powerful way to say it because we all lead in our own way.
Going from the experience that you had in that, 5-6 months and that year that was a year from hell, do you think that you were in a different reality moving into that new role that was different to the actual reality? Do you think that you were a different person because of that experience, which affected that next environment?
So you mean the new school to build? You mean, was I in a different reality?
So you came from that old environment that was toxic and you went in. Do you think that because you weren't feeling yourself behind the kind of curtains, you were kind of not feeling that great, right? Do you think that you were a different person and you had a different reality moving into that next chapter, which actually affected that chapter?
Well, I felt so after the bullying in 2015. Remember, there's like a 5-6 year gap here, and in the 2016, 2017, I had a journey to go on, and then all those things, those goals, that sedation moments, those goals, they made me feel that I was okay, but deep down, I wasn't. So when I got the job, because this school valued connection, openness, honesty, I was open, I was honest, I was raw. They knew about my journey. That's actually what got me the job, because I was open about all those values. I cried in the interview. That, I believe, that's what got me my job, because they wanted to see vulnerability, because it's all about deep emotional intelligence, this particular school. It was all raw and wanted all this to be touched. They wanted their guides and their teachers to be raw and in touch with their insides, their emotions. I believe my experience got me the job. 100%. They even told me that. You could, so going in was a different reality. No, I actually felt finally somebody loves me for who I am, values what I've been through, because they believe that what he's been through will be able to bring a better Andrew to the school. 100%. So no, I don't, because I actually show you. There's a video I could send to you, and you could see the dance that I did in my house when I got the call saying I got the job. Honestly, it was the best day. It was another one of the best days of my life, because I got to open a school. How many teachers on the planet get to open their own school?
Not many.
Not many. There's a few that get to open a state school, and then they, like everyone else, drilled and told what to do and how they want it. And we got to do this on ourselves. There were like 4 of us, and people were asking us questions, making us feel open to be vulnerable and safe and honest. And that changed over the months going afterwards. But man, I was so excited. I'd never been excited about a job in my entire life. And I still value that moment, and I still thank them for having the opportunity. Would I go back? No. I wouldn't go back. No, I don't believe in going back. I only want to go forwards. But I still love the feeling that I had. I'm still grateful for the journey. I know it was nothing personal, because that's just how that particular leader led amongst everybody. And that's fine. That's their leader. We're not the only one. You go to the corporate world, you go to the health industries. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
You have good leaders. You have leaders who just don't know how to lead, or are not inspired themselves to lead, or they're not trained, they're not given growth, they're not given inspiration themselves. That's okay. It was just another moment for us not to have the leader that I needed, I guess. So I wasn't living a different reality, but 6 weeks after leaving there, sepsis had set in my gallbladder. I thought I was having anxiety attacks. I don't probably believe I had anxiety attacks now. It was my gallbladder speaking to me. sepsis had set in, and my partner got the phone call to say, prepare for the worst tonight. He might not be coming home. He could be in a coma in an intensive care unit in the next 30 minutes. And I didn't know that during that time. I was in hospital. They didn't tell me that. But yeah, it was a horrible experience. And a particular stone went into the bile duct, and apparently, not really done much research on this particular area, but apparently that is, there's only 3 surgeons in the state of Victoria that can operate on that particular part of the bile duct. The gallbladder removal is very common. It's weird we say gallbladder removal is very common, but think about that. Break that down for a moment. No organs should be removed from the body. Do you know what I mean? I don't care how common it is. Shouldn't have to be removed. But obviously it had to be removed for my own safety. And the bile duct either fixed itself or it was never there in the first place. And we dealt with the sepsis. And luckily I survived the sepsis. And that's when I started to reflect on my life. And that's when the book was written. And that's when I started to study the brain, get to the root causes. And then the podcast came a little bit of time after that. Yeah,
perfect. If you could give some advice for people listening, if people are in a toxic culture, what advice would you give to them? What steps do you think they should take if they're in a toxic environment, if they're, being bullied, if they're, really heading to work each day with anxiety, with this deep dread of the day ahead because of what they're experiencing?
I would look at who you can trust. And have like a little not a mentor, what would be the right, like a safety buddy to connect with, just to make them aware, but definitely document. The one thing I did do right was document everything, and it was tired. Trust me, in that moment, oh man, writing something every single time I didn't have the mental energy, I didn't have the physical energy, I didn't have the emotional tolerance to be able to do it. But oh my God, am I grateful now that I did do it, because that is really what saved me. And I don't necessarily mean saved me from the moment, but allowed me to recover personally later on. So document everything for your own, because there's layers to that conversation too, right? Because I was sponsored to that. I was sponsored by the school. I couldn't leave. Some people turn around, why aren't you just going to get a different job? Well, I'm from another country and I paid thousands of dollars to be at this school being sponsored. They didn't pay for me. I think some people thought I was they were paying for the sponsorship, but they wasn't. So I was living in fight and flight because I was handcuffed, really, in a sense. I could have convinced another school to give me the job, but then I would have had to pay more money and have to fill out all the paperwork. God, you should see the paperwork. So there's layers to your conversation, but generally speaking, I would seek a friend that you can trust, confide in them, be open. If you feel safe, if it's not a leader, I would have a confidential conversation with your leader, meaning if it's a colleague. But if it's a leader, like mine was, I did bypass them a couple of times, but I had no proof because these people were gaslighting me. I had no proof whatsoever until it was physically done in front of me. So I'm going off track here. So your advice: confide in a friend, journal everything, document everything, but connect. But when you go home, man, you've got to try and connect. Do some basic stuff to prepare yourself. Get up, go for a walk in the morning, stand strong, cold shower, walk with the sunlight, walk your dog, do some breath work. Even if it's in the car, do some breath work before you enter. I did that in my last toxic environment. I would sit in the car and I'd do some breathing to try and mentally prepare myself so I wouldn't escalate, so I wouldn't blow up, so I wouldn't react. It was so easy to go. It's so easy to go down that road. So yeah, breath work, bit of exercise, even just lifting a little light weights in the morning, just to train your brain that you've got a little bit of power in yourself. You know what I mean? A little bit of strength, because you can transfer that physical strength into your emotional strength. And more often than not, you just don't see it straight away. Yeah. So really try and have your eyes open and ask yourself, does it sit right? I think you have to trust your gut a little bit more. If it doesn't sit right, just try and make notes. Try and make notes on that. And that's what I did, and that's really what was the best thing for me. But I'm not going to lie, I did struggle with the bullying. It was it was really one of the hardest things I'd ever been through, if I'm honest. And, you know, I've told people, I've had people even in my family say, man up, you know, that was really hard to hear. I hope that answers your head. I don't feel like I've given you enough on advice, if I'm honest, but
No, I think that's good points. I think, you know, like it's a bit of a safety plan having that contact and that person that you can confide in.
yeah.
You know, and also if you can get out of the environment, get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I suppose that didn't enter my advice because I knew that wasn't an option for me, and I'd never been bullied where I lived in England, so I think if I try and imagine myself if that had happened, well, I can imagine it happened now, right? I left and went into a casual teaching role. Not that was bullying, but it was just toxic, so I could get out. I had that freedom, and it was quite easy. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, to leave, it was quite easy, and
I
I
love
had
the
a
quote that
mortgage.
says, if you don't like where you are, you're not a tree. You can move.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and some people will turn around and say, well, I've got a mortgage and kids. I have a mortgage and kids. I've dropped 40K a year, you know, but I'm the happiest I've ever been now. I really, really am.
Yeah. Yeah. So your experience, your journey, even right back from basketball into teaching, has really led you through those experiences, through your journey. A key word there that I love, and I know, you know, you use it really well, is gratitude. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
gratitude for your journey. Don't
Mm,
don't think back and dwell on the things. Actually look for the gratitude, because each of those things are pieces of the puzzle that have put you, or kind of made you the masterpiece you are today, right? And you'll continue to keep putting pieces together as we move on. And as I say, I probably say in every episode is, you know, we're all a work in progress until the day we die.
100%. And on that point, I did dwell for a very long time. Maybe not dwell, but I vented on the dog park to friends, and I probably repeated it a million times to the same people, and they're probably very sick of me. And I think what I learned from that was venting was powerful for me in the sense that it released the undesired emotions daily.
Mm.
But once you've had that sleep and you reset and you're back, you need to vent again. Those emotions really do come back every day. Well, they did for me anyways. So venting's powerful. But for me, the crisis needed to happen. The bullying wasn't even the crisis, even though it was traumatic. It was the near-death experience. That was the crisis point where I knew I had to make change. And that's when I was finally able to turn that pain into purpose and grief into growth. And, you know, yeah, that was really the change. Yeah. So that was the defining moment for me, you know?
Yep. So you co-authored a book. You've got your own podcast, Leading Our Own Way. Talk to me about, what does it mean to lead your own way?
Oh, God, I always ask people that question. What does it mean to me to lead my... Say that again. I need you to reword that. Say that again, sorry, in the same way.
So so obviously I know,
Mm,
as I've been on your podcast, you asked me, you
I
know,
did.
like,
And
what
now
is
I'm on the spot.
leading your own way mean? You know, like
Yeah.
what is it for you? And I'm going to throw that question back to you because I'd love to know.
Yeah, I think leading our own way is titled that because we can't all lead the same way. Our paths are all completely different. We all look at the world in a very different way, even though we see the same thing. You know, we're looking at the same landscape. I always say that to the kids in class, you know, we can look outside, we all see the same thing, but we all look at it completely differently because we all feel it differently. We all smell it differently. We all sense it differently. And I think it's just taking pieces of the world and putting it into your own practice. And I think that's really the ethos of behind the podcast, is to be able, so the viewers can take people of the guests like yourself and all the other people, hundreds, I've not done hundreds yet, all the other guests that I've done. And I really want the viewers to take, and you know, it's my own little personal diary. I'm taking pieces of you all and putting it into my own little Riverside link lock in my studio on my Mac. And I just get to implement them. How lucky am I that I get to take pieces of you all and put it into my life, and leading my own way.
It's our own therapy, Andy.
It really is. But I really want the viewers to feel that too, and see the power in that. You know, whether it's journaling, whether it's gratitude, whether it's meditation, whether it's changing your food or looking at cellular level stuff. We can have these rich conversations, and I think that's the ethos behind leading our own way. And it's a journey, like you mentioned. That's why I've finished with future plans. I don't want people to see this as the end point. We don't stop until we die. And if people can see the trajectory of people's lives, they can realize this is not the end. It's only keep going forward. So, we all have steps, we all have goals, we all have milestones. And I think leading our own way is a powerful way to say it, because we all lead in our own way.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Did you answer my question?
I think I did. Did I not?
How do you lead? How do you lead your own way?
I get up every morning with a positive mindset. It's actually quite a tough question, isn't it? Why do I
love
ask
it?
this
You ask all your guests this question. You ask me this question. And then it's like, bro, I'm going to throw it back to Andy.
Well, I'll tell you how I lead my own way. I have to rethink about it a couple of times. You might have to do a few edits here, I guess. I lead my own way by providing a safe space for other people to share their own journeys. I think that's the easiest way for me to say how I lead my own way, and how I continue to want to lead my own way is that I want to go and I'm not doing this yet. This is a current state, because part of my question is explaining, getting the viewers to explain how they're leading their own way now. How, outside of teaching, because I wish I could quit it so I could do this more full time, but how I'm leading my own way is meeting amazing people and sharing, allowing them a safe space to share their own journey so we can help hopefully millions of people. That's how I'd like to think I'm leading my own way now. To lead my own way in the future is I want to be able to create mental health talks so I can go into workplaces to inspire the leaders that are supposed to inspire the people that they're supposed to inspire. That means teaching them how to be present, how to work on themselves on a daily basis. And then we'll go into the nitty-gritty things of the individuals that they're supposed to work with. Not philosophies, understanding character, personality, strengths, weaknesses, and how to meet those needs of those individuals, not drain it out of them.